All right, so we get the diet dialed in. Now, what are some of my favorite herbs to address Candida overgrowth? So in my line, we'll use GI Clear 5 a lot. GI Clear 5 is an emulsified oil of oregano. Love oil of oregano for addressing Candida. A lot of times there can be biofilms. You'll see biofilms more with bacteria, for sure. But I'll always do like either silver for a biofilm buster, which is my GI Clear 3, or I'll do a ginger tea. We'll juice that tea. We'll juice the pieces of ginger. We'll add it to hot water. We may add a little bit of lime or lemon in there because the acid is very good, like we talked about earlier for the pH. We may add in some Manuka honey, especially if someone's gut's really raw and sensitive. We may want to add that in. So I also may add in Podiarco. So we have a GI Clear 6, has a lot of Podiarco in there. We may do like an undecilenic acid, like from a castor bean oil extract. We may do monolaurin synergy is another one in my line. Monolaurin's good. It's monolauric acid, right? I'm pretty sure it's a carbon-12 fatty acid. It's one of the main ones you're going to see in like your breast milk. It's part of the MCT oil chain, right? You have C6, 8, 10, and 12. Capric, caprylic, caproic, and then lauric acid. Those are your big fatty acids. And lauric is going to be antimicrobial as well. So we have Podiarco. And so you have undecilenic acid, like I mentioned earlier. You could throw a little bit of garlic in there as well. I like my biofilm busters too. I mean, a lot of times Candida is not just there by itself. There's other microbes there. You may see H. pylori. You may see your SIBO family of bacteria like your Klebsiella, Citrobacter, Pseudomonas, etc. You may see H. pylori. You may see other bugs. And so just don't come in and be like, oh, it's got to be Candida. I got all these signs and symptoms. Maybe, and it probably is, but it's probably other things too. So just be open to all of your options. Don't get hyper-fixated. I get patients that come in to me, oh, it's got to be mold. It's got to be Lyme. It's like, well, all of those symptoms could be anything because the umbrella for those symptoms is wide. And so it's a big umbrella. So almost anything someone has will fit under that umbrella of Lyme or mold. That's where you need a really good history and a really good kind of clinical framework because you want to say, what's the most you want to use Occam's razor, right? Because the answer for everyone can't be mold and Lyme. So you want to use Occam's razor, like what's the most likely thing based on this person's history, what they've gone through, what their diet's been like, what they've done, what's helped them in the past, what's hurt them in the past. And so I always use that Occam's razor approach, and I always start with foundational things and work our way up. And if we have to do a Lyme or mold protocol because the history frets out and everything kind of falls in place, we look at, oh, yeah, you are living in a moldy home. Yeah, you've been exposed to mold. You've lived in this basement. You didn't have good dehumidification. It was chronically high and humid. We did some tests. We saw there was high levels of mold. Or when you leave your house, you feel better. Like this, the history like stacks up and tells us, okay, yeah, we're putting check marks. This is more and more likely. Okay, great. Now we would factor that in. But like for mold, for instance, you got to address the gut first because that's how you detoxify mold. A lot of times it's hepatobiliary wise. So we get the gut fixed anyway. We may work on the environment, dehumidification. We may remediate some of the mold in that area. We may get a dehumidifier going and lower the humidity. So there's a lot of things we can do, but just kind of keep that in mind. When a lot of these symptoms come up, it's really easy to get overwhelmed and kind of go down rabbit holes. And so you want to keep your wits about you and you want to use that Occam razor principle and say, what's the most likely thing here based on my history? And that's where someone like myself, a good trained, skilled clinician, knows what questions to ask and knows how to uncover that.